It's been a wild few days for Las Vegas Raiders fans. First, there were rumors about Antonio Pierce liking some Instagram posts, then reports that Davante Adams hadn't heard from him. Soon after, the big news dropped. Davante Adams officially requested a trade from the Raiders. Today, Antonio Pierce finally addressed the situation. Reporters kept asking him about Davante Adams and his trade request. Let's go over what Pierce had to say. When asked if he could give an update on Adams, Pierce responded, Davante is dealing with a hamstring injury. He's rehabbing and focused on recovery. Pierce made it clear that the team's attention is on preparing for their next game against the Denver Broncos. Reporters pressed on, asking if Pierce had talked to Davante lately. Pierce answered briefly, Yes, we talk often, but I'm focused on Denver. He repeated that message multiple times, saying that any trade conversations would involve the team's management, not just him. From this, it's clear that Antonio Pierce is staying professional and not getting caught up in drama. Some fans might be frustrated, wanting more details, but Pierce's approach shows maturity. It's a sharp contrast from his past, where he once openly criticized his team. Some believe he might have even called out Davante Adams directly for not putting in effort, especially with his poor run blocking. Their tension goes back even further. During the preseason, Adams made it clear he didn't want to play due to health concerns. Pierce, however, stated that if a player is healthy, they should be on the field. This might be one of the early signs of the two clashing. So, should the Raiders trade Davante Adams? Honestly, it might be best for everyone. Look at past examples, like Tom Brady with Randy Moss. Even though Moss was a superstar, Brady felt pressure to get him the ball, which made it hard to run the offense smoothly. A similar situation might be happening here. Plus, Adams hasn't looked as sharp this season. He's had several dropped passes, including a crucial touchdown against the Ravens and two big drops against the Panthers. While the blame isn't all on him, it's fair to ask, do the Raiders really need him? If they decide to trade him, there are teams showing interest. The Jets and the New Orleans Saints are at the top of Adams' list. Both teams have connections. Aaron Rodgers, his old quarterback, is with the Jets, and Derek Carr, another former quarterback of Adams, is with the Saints. There's also the Saints wide receiver coach Keith Williams, who used to coach Adams personally. Other teams, like the Steelers, are exploring a potential trade. However, the Cowboys are reportedly not interested, and a divisional rival like the Chiefs is unlikely to make a move for Adams. In the end, it's still unclear where Adams will land, but with his current form and the team's situation, a trade might be the fresh start both sides need. So, here's where things get interesting. There are a few teams that might want to trade for Davante Adams. The Jets, Saints, Steelers, and possibly even the Chiefs are in the mix. Although trading to a division rival like the Chiefs is unlikely, it's not impossible. The Chiefs might think, we're already a Super Bowl contender, but we need one more star wide receiver to put us over the top. If that's the case, they might offer 2 first-round picks for Adams. If a team like Kansas City wants Adams badly enough, they'll have to overpay because they're in the same division. But other teams, like the Steelers or the 49ers, could be interested too. While the 49ers have cap space, they already paid Brandon Ayuk a lot, so fitting in Adams might be tough. On the other hand, the Saints and Jets could make it work by being creative with their budgets. Right now, the Raiders need to create buzz around Adams. If they can show that multiple teams are interested, they might be able to get a solid trade offer, maybe even a first-round pick. Some fans think Adams won't go for much because he's 32 and nearing the end of his career. But if we look at recent trades, wide receivers still hold value. For example, Stephon Diggs went for a second-round pick, and even Marquise Hollywood Brown was traded for a first-round pick. So, there's a chance the Raiders could trade Adams along with a third-round pick in exchange for a first-rounder. If they find a team picking at the end of the first round, that pick might be close in value to a higher second-round pick. It's not impossible that the Raiders could get a decent return. However, if the market is weak, they might only get a third-round pick, which would be disappointing. Now, with all this drama, it's easy to forget that the Raiders still have a game coming up against the Broncos. Despite the distraction, the team is preparing and staying focused. It's possible that the players already knew about Adams' trade request before the recent game against the Browns. That might explain why they seemed off during that game. But now, they have a chance to prove themselves against a struggling Broncos team. In other news, Max Crosby is planning to play this weekend, despite having a high ankle injury. This is surprising because Crosby has only missed 1 game in his entire career, and that was back in college. He even said he's never missed a game in high school either. So, It's clear he's determined to play. But the risk is high. A high ankle sprain usually takes several weeks to heal, and playing through it could make things worse. Head coach Antonio Pierce was asked about this and said, "My job is to protect Max Crosby from Max Crosby." He's right. It's better for Crosby to rest and come back fully healthy rather than risking a bigger injury. Overall, if the Raiders can stay focused and get some good trade offers for Adams, they'll be in a strong position. But they have to be smart and not rush things, whether it's with the Adams trade or Crosby's injury recovery. The Raiders are getting ready for their upcoming game against the Broncos. One of the key points to watch is the Broncos' offensive line. Their tackles have struggled, which could give the Raiders pass rush an edge. However, their right guard is a standout player, so the Raiders will need to focus on taking advantage of the weaker spots. In other news, the Raiders are making a change at running back. Alexander Mattison is expected to get more playing time over Zamir White. This move makes sense because Mattison has been more effective, averaging 12 yards per carry, while White is only at 2.8 yards per carry. Coach Antonio Pierce confirmed that Mattison will get more reps, which shows that the team is adjusting to what's working. Some fans have been frustrated with the team's decisions, especially around player rotation. But the team has been careful with players like Jackson Paris-Johnson, who took time to get back on the field after dealing with some health issues. The Raiders didn't want to rush him, and now he's healthy and performing well. This same careful approach might be applied to other players moving forward. As for Madison, the hope is that he can stay consistent when given more opportunities. Even if he doesn't break off big runs every time, they're looking for steady yardage and the potential for a breakout play. If he can hit 4 to 6 yards per carry consistently, it'll help the offense move the chains. Jacoby Myers and Trey Tucker will have to step up as well. Myers had a decent game against the Browns, catching 5 passes for 49 yards. But he had 10 targets, which means he needs to convert more of those opportunities. With Adams potentially on the way out, Myers has to become the go-to guy. He's strong, physical, and runs solid routes, making him capable of filling that role. Trey Tucker also showed promise last game, catching 5 of his 6 targets and even scoring a rushing touchdown. He's fast and shifty, and the Raiders should look to get him the ball more often. Designing plays for him, like deep routes or end-arounds, can put pressure on the defense and keep them guessing. Another area the Raiders need to focus on is using motion to confuse defenses. When they put a guy like Tucker in motion, it forces the defense to react. If they keep mixing up these plays, sometimes handing it off, sometimes using the motion as a decoy, it'll keep defenders on their heels and open up more options. If the Raiders want to have a successful season, players like Myers and Tucker need to step up in Adams' absence. Tight end Michael Mayer is also expected to miss this week's game, which puts even more pressure on these receivers. The key is for the Raiders to spread the ball around and get everyone involved. This will make it harder for defenses to key in on one guy. If the Raiders can stay focused and make these adjustments, they have a chance to turn things around. Meanwhile, all eyes are on the potential trade of Davante Adams. When, or if, the trade happens, it's going to be a major shift for the team. Stay tuned, and if it goes down, we'll go live on the channel to discuss it in real time. Be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates.